They love it when I'm doing it because I'm a completely different person. I am younger, more vibrant, more energetic, more positive, and they know when I haven't been eating correctly because my demeanor completely changes. I walk around like I'm under a cloud. They know. They know. They can tell. Mummy's off the wagon. She's a bit miserable today. But when I've been doing it for a long string of time, they just think I encourage it. Please don't stop, Mum. Just keep going.
Sarah, how did you find carnivore?
Well, my story is fairly typical of women my age. I think most women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s can relate to my story. You find dieting in the 1980s or 1990s, always low calorie, low fat. My story is not unique. We can all relate to this. We go on a diet even though we're not even that overweight. Most of us were not even overweight in those days. We were only a tiny bit chubby, but in the magazines it said we had to be thinner. So we found our way around the low fat dieting lifestyle and we all were on it. I went to a local magazine store and they had a magazine called Slimming Magazine, and that was in 1995. And the advice was to eat 1,000 calories a day and basically starve yourself thin. And it worked, of course, because it was the first time. If it's your very first time on a dieting lifestyle and you're a teenager, of course it works brilliantly. But what you don't realize is happening is behind the scenes you're trashing your hormones, trashing your metabolism, and when you do hit your 40s and 50s, you then can't lose weight pretty much doing anything. Even carnivore, some women my age are struggling now because of how we've damaged our metabolism, damaged our hormones. So in 1999, I joined a company called Slimming World, which is based a UK version of Weight Watchers. We have Weight Watchers over here, but you're either a Weight Watchers person or you're a Slimming World person. And it's all the same for that, to go to a group, pay your money, get weighed in public, and then get told to eat as little fat as possible, and then go away and have a nice time. And then when my first child came along, I thought, well, this could be an easy way to make money. This could work for me. So I actually decided to become a consultant with Slimming World myself. So then I was contributing to the madness. I was contributing to women destroying their hormones, destroying their metabolism, sharing the message of eat as much veg as you can and cut the fat off your meat. So I actually now apologize to people for contributing to sharing that message. And now, as a result of that, my health declined. I developed gastritis. As my mother actually did blame Slimming World for my gastritis because she said you didn't have these problems before you joined them. And that's true. I didn't. I was diagnosed as having gastritis in 2002 after all the horrible, horrible food we were told to eat, these high brand bars that we were told to buy and sell and eat. Awful. So after the birth of my second child, I was in quite a bad way. I had a 40-inch waist. I was depressed, anxious, IBS symptoms, gastritis, psoriasis, insomnia. I had pre-diabetes, and just joint pain, teeth sensitivity, catching colds left, right, and centre. Just not in a good place, really. And then in October 2014, I was really ready for so 9 years ago now, I was really ready for a big change. And I decided to give up wheat and sugar because I thought that might be a good starting point. I'd heard that wheat and sugar were not great for us. So I gave that up. And at the time, I was following a Twitter feed by the husband of someone that you may have heard of, Dave, Amber O'Hearn. She's a very big talker in the carnivore world. And her husband at the time, I believe she may now be separated. If that information is wrong, I apologize. But her husband at the time, I was following him on Twitter, and he said to me, well, it's fantastic that you've given up wheat and sugar, but what else are you prepared to give up? And this was 9 years ago, where keto it wasn't really a big thing in the UK. Everyone, even now, everyone's still counting their calories and cutting their fat off everything. So, so keto was not heard of. I didn't really know about it. And I certainly hadn't heard of carnivore. And he suggested I gave up everything and that his wife, Amber O'Hearn, was a carnivore and had massive health improvements from doing that. And I think because I'm such a curious person, I didn't just poo-poo it. I looked into it immediately. I'm not the sort of person that's going to say, oh, that's nice. That's nice to hear, but that wouldn't work for me. I'm not even going to explore that. So I've got a hyper curious personality. And I was also really ready for a change. So I dived into the low carb pool. And within a couple of weeks, I'd already found the Facebook group Zeroing In on Health, joined that. It was a very small group at the time. I think they've got about 40,000 members now, but at the time there was about 1,000 of us in there. And very, very quickly fell into carnivore, and I did at the time lose quite a lot of weight doing it. But I've got older since then and had a lot of stress in my life. So I don't really tend to lose weight anymore, but I still have a whole myriad of health benefits as a result of doing it. So even though my journey, as many people on my channel will know, isn't perfect, I am a voice for the imperfect, the people that have found this way of eating, but I still think deserve to have a voice. Just because we had 1 week off 2 years ago on holiday, it doesn't mean that we are not allowed to talk about our journey. We're not vegans here. You weren't carnivore enough. Okay. But I was carnivore enough to get my health benefits, and I like to read them off. I've actually written them down because I always forget one. So I healed my gastritis, which I had an endoscopy in 2002 to diagnose my gastritis. But with that, I had a whole load of IBS, nausea, acid, diarrhea symptoms. I was also early pre-diabetic. My friend was fully diabetic at the time. I reversed varicose veins, which I've only just realized recently have actually gone. You know how you don't notice something has gone, and then you watch lots of videos from other carnivores and say, oh, that's strange. That's happened to me too. So that was a nice surprise. Completely reversed long-term psoriasis, brain fog. I had a lot of monthly issues and clotting, and that's all just gone away. I had an overactive bladder, no more. Terrible, terrible carb cravings and hunger. Well, that only comes on when I'm not eating the correct way. If I'm eating the correct way, that completely goes away and I'm in control. Joint pain. If I don't eat the correct way, all my joints hurt. As soon as I eat just meat, the pain goes away. That's absolutely fascinating to me. I tell people that all the time. They don't believe me, but you can keep planting seeds, can't you? And just hope that people listen to you. I've avoided serious obesity. My waistline is 5 inches less than what it was 9 years ago. I have avoided serious obesity. Heat sensitivity, hardly ever get ill. And if I do, it lasts 5 seconds. All day energy. But the main reason I stay with carnivore and do it most of the time is because I want to avoid the health problems that I've seen my family members go through, in particular my mum. I will talk about her later in the video, but that's how I found carnivore, really, just accidentally stumbling across it in 2014, 9 years ago. So that's amazing.
Well, congratulations. I mean, that's a significant stretch of time. Let me just say as well, I'm in agreement with you about this kind of, we're not vegans, right? Someone kind of falls off the wagon or has a break or something, they shouldn't have to lose their carnivore card, or it shouldn't be a case of, oh, well, you're not carnivore anymore because you had a jelly bean one day or something like that. It's like, I mean, where do we draw the line,
Yeah. I mean, I have full respect for the people that have done it perfectly, because there's no better way to prove that a lifestyle works than doing it 100%. I know people that have eaten ribeye and water for, it must be coming up for over 25 years now, and full respect to them. And I wish I was that perfect, but some of us are just not. I do respect their journeys, and I'm not belittling them in any way. We have a war on meat going on that's really serious. They're trying any way they possibly can to get us to not eat meat, and there's no better way to prove that science wrong than just eating meat and saying, right, this is now better, that's better. There's some misinformation there somewhere, isn't there? And we're going to prove that wrong. So I do respect the people that are perfect, but there are many of us who are imperfect, who are still having a myriad of health benefits, and I think we should be allowed to speak. That's my feeling on it.
Yeah. So just as you've kind of touched on that topic now, let's kind of talk about it. How is it in the UK as far as people wanting you to stop eating meat? I mean, when you go to the supermarket, are people standing there kind of picketing or something? What's the climate like?
It's not too bad. People are, generally, people are not very outspoken in the UK, and people generally just leave each other alone. But I can see that the notices coming through with, I've seen posters around in my local school saying, let's do veganuary. Now, someone has just picked that up off the internet and just put it up on the board. And so to say, I don't think they've really truly looked into their poster that they've put up with, oh, we must all give up meat for January. But I do know some people that are doing that. And I just think, where are you getting your information from that you think that's so, it's not too bad. The pressure's not bad. We have had some people in Sainsbury's, though, having a funeral in the chicken aisle. That I've seen that one happen, where they're saying, "Oh, we're going to have a funeral now for the chickens," but not too bad. In the main, not too bad. But the pressure's all over the globe, isn't it? We're all being subjected to messages saying it's going to kill us,
Yeah, yeah,
and all the
that's right.
lies. Yeah, and I
So
just, this is why I set up my channel, because I tried to keep quiet for so long, thinking no one's going to want to listen to me. But my channel has steadily been growing. Lots of people have joined my channel that are imperfect like me, and they're really happy with my channel, saying they feel really safe there. They can talk about their journey and not be judged, and it's nice. Yeah.
nice. So, how, when you are kind of on carnivore, how, what does a normal day look like for you? Eating what?
I tend to eat 3 meals a day, but only because that just fits in with the structure of my day. I'm working in a school, and I know I'd do so much better at this if I didn't have to work at all. But I do. I'll cook some burgers in the morning, eat them in my car early in the morning, 7 in the morning, and then I'll snack on some bits of meat at lunchtime, just because that's what everyone's doing. Everyone's eating at that time. I try not to look too obviously different. And then in the evening, I'll have a couple of steaks, depending on how much money I've got. My favorite meal is steak, salmon, and rib and king prawns, but I can't actually afford to do that every day. Last night, I did have a wonderful meal of some fish, and I am having dairy at the moment, even though I'm not supposed to. Some days I'm just having such a bad day that I think I'm going to have some dairy. Other times I can go without it. I went without it for about 160 days last year in a row. So I am capable of doing things. I'm not a complete waste of space.
So, and how is your family with this? Are you just working in the meal times together and they're eating kind of what we would say is normally, or
Yeah.
how's things
Yeah,
going?
I do live with three carb addicts, and I am cooking and buying food for them and preparing food for them all the time, which doesn't always help. I In the beginning, my husband was quite resistant to me eating this way, because he hadn't done the research I'd done and knew that the benefits that were coming for me. But these days, they're actually disappointed if I'm not doing it. They love it when I'm doing it, because I'm a completely different person. I am younger, more vibrant, more energetic, more positive, and they know when I haven't been eating correctly, because my demeanor completely changes. I walk around like I'm under a cloud. They know, they can tell. Mummy's off the wagon. She's a bit miserable today, but when I've been doing it for a long string of time, they just think I encourage it. Please don't stop, Mum. Just keep going. So they do encourage me, even though they eat rubbish food in front of me. But I just have to get on with it.
That that's really interesting because you mentioned the joint pain before, and if you go off track, the joint pain comes straight back, and that's been
Yeah,
my experience too.
yeah.
But it's also interesting that your mood can also change so quickly if you deviate. It's crazy, right?
Friends that can totally tell that I'm on the wagon or not. They can totally tell. I have one long-term friend that have been friends with since school. She knows. She says to me, "I can tell from your sparkly eyes when you're doing it, Sarah. I know when you're not doing it. So don't even pretend that you are when you're not, because I can tell just by looking at you and your demeanor and the way you speak and everything about you. I can tell if you're carnivore or not." So I do have people in my life that call me out. If I say I'm carnivore and I'm not, they know immediately that I'm lying. So I don't lie anymore. I just say, no, it's right. I had something that I shouldn't have eaten today, and I'm paying for it. And tomorrow I'll be carnivore again, and I will continue, you know. But it is fascinating to me how you can switch things on and off. I can switch off gut problems on and off. I can switch joint pain on and off. That's really fascinating to me. And one of the reasons I've set up a channel is because now I can talk about this to people, because the people in the real world don't really take much notice. They say, "Oh, that's interesting," and then they just get on with their day. And so I feel like I've got a superpower. Do you feel like you have a superpower, Dave? That
Oh
you
yeah, definitely.
really control your body now. You could eat something tomorrow, possibly regret it, possibly not, and then the next day you'll be back to your meat. feeling perfect again. That's a superpower, surely.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the reasons I was talking with someone else about this the other week, how I believe that the deviations are not necessarily a bad thing
Mm,
because over time, those deviations strengthen your resolve to stay on carnivore completely.
definitely.
Because it's like you say, deviate, have some veg or something like that,
Mm.
wake up the next day with back pain or
Veg.
something,
I'm not gonna. I don't hate myself that much, Dave. I'm not gonna eat vegetables.
or some fruit or something. Wake up the
No.
wake up the next day.
Treat. I'm gonna do it properly. I'm not gonna waste my time with
It's gonna be
broccoli.
like tiramisu or something.
Yeah, let's do it properly if you're gonna do it at all.
Okay.
Waste my
So
time with spinach.
you have the tiramisu. Next day you wake up with back pain, and it's like that's just an extra little
Yeah,
bit of resolve strengthened, you
yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's always a learning curve. And I always figure that I've got plenty of time. There are some people that find carnivore much older than me. I'm 48 now. There are people that don't find it until their 50s, 60s, 70s. I've got plenty of time to be perfect. I have an incredibly stressful job at the moment working with special needs children. I'm not trying to get excuses. I'm just explaining I've had a lot of stress in my life over the last 5 years. I would like to talk to you about my mum and her health, and that motivates me to drive forward with carnivore because I want to not walk in her footsteps. She was sick. I mean, is it okay to talk about my mum? That's okay.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. I had a very, very sickly mother who was sick all my life. There was never a time that there wasn't something wrong with her or she wasn't on some medication for something. Her mother really did fall for the low fat, high grain message. And she basically grew up eating low fat right from the start. Because she was born in 1950, and it wasn't long after that that people, I think by the time she was a teenager, they were starting to talk about, don't eat the fat, eat this, and eat the oats and things like that. And she had hormonal problems from a very young age. She had PCOS problems as a teenager. She lost her full reproductive system when I was 13. She then lost her thyroid, and then she had to have a hip replaced, and then she had stage 4 bowel cancer. And I just have this feeling, I just have this feeling that many of the things she had wrong with her could have been avoided because my thyroid function is absolutely fine on carnivore. My mum lost her thyroid when she was about 45. I'm now 48, so already I have all my body parts. I haven't lost anything yet. And I've had blood work done at the doctors. We don't have blood work done very often in the UK, but I specifically last year got some blood work done so that I could prove to the haters that there's nothing wrong with me. You know, no risk for diabetes, no risk for heart attack, no risk for anything. My thyroid function's perfect. So I know that the way it stands at the moment, I've got a really good chance of not walking in my mum's footsteps and keeping all my body parts and being a really healthy person. But if something does go wrong with me catastrophically tomorrow, I would switch to perfect carnivore immediately and stay there for the rest of my life. I would just do it because I'd be scared, because I don't want to have to go through what she went through. One of the reasons I'm not losing weight at the moment is because of stress. I've looked a lot into cortisol and how if your cortisol is constantly elevated, your blood sugar is also constantly elevated, which is, I believe, the reason that even when I am perfect carnivore, my weight doesn't come down. So I concentrate on my health. My channel is health based more than weight loss based. One day it may be weight loss based, but for now it's health based. She passed away. My mother passed away about 20 months ago now, and I was by her side the whole time. She didn't want hospice care. So I had to not only witness what she was going through, but I had to be her mother for a while, and I had to give up work for a bit and at the end of her life. And she didn't want to go into hospice. So it was just me and her at her bedside at the end. And the stress I went through at that time was absolutely unbelievable. And during that time, I wasn't carnivore because I didn't care. Sometimes things happen in your life that are so traumatic that you don't care what you eat. And people can criticize me for not being perfect if they want, but I'm sorry, but until you've been through a trauma that deep, see how much you want to be carnivore and perfect eating when you're going through that. I just didn't. So I'm not looking for excuses or sympathy. I'm just saying some people have gone through traumas. Some people are still going through traumas. But they will be carnivore, and they are going to be carnivore because they've felt the magic. As Charles Washington from Zeroing on Health said, once you've felt the magic of zero carb, you'll keep coming back to it. You're not going to lose that magic. So even if you do take a week off one day, you're still going to keep coming back to it, because once all the health problems start creeping back in and you can't get upstairs because your knees are cracking, and then you can't go anywhere because your guts are playing up, you're going to come back
Yeah.
instantly. Instantly. And I think I'm going to be carnivore for all of my 50s, all of my 60s, and all of my 70s and 80s. And so there's time for me to shine. You haven't seen the best of me yet. That's what I think.
So first, let me say I'm very sorry to hear about your mum.
Thank you.
And I understand that situation, right? Because when you're under so much severe stress, you're and you know, you're just trying to get by day to day.
Yep.
The last thing you're thinking about is, you know, preparing a meal or eating properly or whatever. You know, it's just I just need to function for another few hours to get to this point or something. So I totally understand that.
There are a lot of women. There are lots of women in my age group taking care of children and their elderly relatives at the same time. This is not unique to me. I know of loads of women who have children to get to school and then elderly parents who are not well all at the same time. I don't know whether you call it the sandwich generation where you are, but you know, you're just a wafer thin slice of ham sandwiched between two bits of bread, and one bit of bread is your kids and the other bit of bread is your elderly relatives, and you're not taking care of yourself. I have seen it over and over. Just women. I'm not just saying it's only women, but because we've been on the dieting as well in our teenage years, and now we're coping with all this stress, we've now got to the point where we're sitting back watching the men lose weight and we're not losing weight. And it sucks, but the health benefits keep me here. You know. Sorry, I interrupted you there. You had a question.
No problem at all. So just kind of, I've seen you often with the complete topic change here, but I've seen you often wearing a bicycle helmet.
Oh,
So you get around on a bicycle quite a bit.
that was in the summer actually. I went. My son and I went locally cycling around, and he took a video of me. It was a way of getting him off his Xbox, really. You know, I've got to get the kids off their electric devices. So I said to him, "Come for a bike ride with Mum, and then you can be my editor and film man." We're going to do it again this year. I'll make sure he comes out with me. We get on the local lake and do some filming around the lake. But sometimes I have been known to just put on the bike helmet just randomly, just because it amuses some people. And if I can get anyone to smile in my day, then that's a good thing.
Nice. So the kind of question I was leading to was, during your time with Carnivore, how has your energy been for things like getting up and exercising and that? If you're when you're kind of, if you want to call it perfect carnivore, do you feel you've got more energy, more get up and go?
Oh yeah, I say that I feel more superhuman. I think that's why my friend said that she sees that my eyes are more sparkly when I'm carnivore, because I've just got this extra level. But really, it's not really being superhuman. It's just being human, isn't it? Like Kerry from Homestead House says, you know, it's not really being superhuman. It's just being how we're supposed to be, how humans are actually supposed to be functioning. We're not supposed to be walking around in a brain fog with knees that need replacing and sick. You know, if you saw an animal out in the woods that's limping around and crying, you know, you think, wow, there's something wrong with that animal. What's wrong with it? Perhaps it's on the wrong diet. But you see a human tucking into rubbish food and limping around, and it's normal nowadays. How did we get so normal that sitting around eating crap food and having our bodies falling apart on us, how did that suddenly become normal? And why is no one making the links? It's only the people like you and me, Dave, and other carnivores that are doing that extreme elimination and finding out, wow, maybe it was the food after all, and we are actually limping around because of the food. It's
Yeah.
hard for some people to take, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, to be cynical, I think no one's finding the links because there's no money in the links.
There's no money. There's follow the money. There's no money in it. The
Yeah.
money's all, there's no money in healthy people and dead people. It's all in the middle, isn't it? Let's not get
Yeah.
controversial, Dave. I try not to be controversial on my channel.
So, you mentioned you're a teacher.
Actually, only a teaching assistant. I actually support
Okay.
special needs children. So I do. My whole job is actually exercise. I don't tend to do anything structured when I'm out of work because I'm literally on my feet chasing kids around the whole day anyway. So that's my activity.
So,
But
so
it's,
having,
it's a stressful job to have, and I am looking
yeah,
into changing that because I know that my cortisol is up all day long. You know, people are walking around counting calories and steps, but no one's got a stress monitor on their wrist because mine would be just red all day. And that's worrying for me. I do genuinely worry about that.
yeah.
Mm.
So having been in a kind of school environment myself, my feeling about a school environment is that there's often a lot of junk food passed around,
I knew you were
and
going to
stuff.
say that. Mm.
How is it with that? Do people, when you turn down the treats and whatever, what are people's reactions like?
People have got used to me. They know that I am the meat person. It's she's the meat person. They know. And if and the odd occasion they do see me having something I shouldn't, they're like, that's not like you. So I like to think that's a good sign. It means that they are noticing that I don't really want to eat that stuff. And if it does happen, they're, oh, that's not like you. You must be having a really bad day if you've if you've succumbed to that. I tend to eat in the car before work and at break time and at lunchtime. I do go and sit in the car because I find it very, very difficult to sit in the staff room. And like you say, there's treats everywhere all the time. I'm constantly exposed to treats and watching people eating their what you might call the normal food. I don't like putting things in quotes, but they're looking at me. I would rather just go and eat in my car and not have anyone thinking, why is she just eating meat? That's strange. And I have to sit and watch them eating their salad, knowing that they're doing potentially a lot of damage to themselves. And I find that quite stressful. So I think I'll just go in the car, watch carnivore videos, and just avoid it as much as possible. But yes, there is an environment which is all about treat food, and it gets worse at certain times of the year. And then some people bring in massive cakes just to be friendly to everyone. I think that's really not that helpful or friendly, giving people that stuff. And so I have to just go outside and just ignore it.
Yeah, it took me a long time of starting and restarting and
Mm,
starting and failing, starting, failing, starting, failing
mm,
to actually finally stick to it because everyone had this habit of bringing in like, oh, it's my day today. I'm going to bring in
mm,
some McDonald's,
mm.
or it's my day today. I'm going to bring in some ice cream or whatever. It
Yeah,
just never ended.
yeah.
Yeah.
Every
Mm.
birthday, every celebration, Christmas, Easter, we celebrate with
Yeah.
food. 'Cause in my I did a live a few weeks ago, and we were discussing the power of culture. Never underestimate the power of our cultures, rituals, and we are tribal animals, and it isn't easy to go against the herd. I do most of the time, but sometimes I don't, and I'm just a human creature who's incredibly sociable, and I don't want to live my life where I never ever get to enjoy those rituals ever again. I did take 3 days off at Christmas. I know that some people will think that's not good, but I wanted to take part in my family's rituals for 3 days. And then on the 27th of December, I started Lion, did 2 weeks of strict Lion for 2 whole weeks to sort of detox my body from those foods. But we had a lovely time and I don't regret it. If my health does take a dive tomorrow with something serious, I know what I'll do. I've already got it worked out. But at the moment, with all these health benefits and the doctor's report saying he can't find anything wrong with me, I'm not going to panic at this moment in time. I've got plenty of time to be perfect, and I will be perfect. It just may not be today. But it will be today. I've actually got a beef brisket in the stoker cooker
Oh,
in there now. I've just had some bacon, so everything's good in my life today. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? I'm not worrying about that. I live in the present. Am I
yeah.
carnivore today? Yes, I am. Great. Do my knees hurt today? No, they don't. great. Everything's good in my world. That's how I exist now. And I don't apologize for myself anymore. The
Mm,
beating myself and apologizing was getting me down. I don't apologize for it now. People either find my journey interesting or they don't. That's up to them.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So could you talk a little bit about, your channel, please?
My channel, I started it because of the war on meat. You know, like I just said, I'd always thought about setting up a channel, but I thought I'm going to do it when I'm perfect. When I look like Kelly Hogan, I'm going to set up my channel. But that may take a while. I may look like her in another 5 years, but the war on meat is happening right now. So I need to have a voice right now, even if I get hate. And actually, I haven't had any hate. It will happen. It will happen. But my journey is to celebrate the people who know that carnivore has completely transformed their lives, but for some reason, whether that's trauma or just, whatever reason, they've had some breaks in their journey. And that's okay in my book. And I've had so many people saying, "Thank you so much for this channel. Thank you so much for the down to earth comedy realism of your channel, because there's so many perfect ones. We could actually do with more people who are not perfect. So there's a place for them to come and not feel intimidated. Because when I watch the perfect channels, I just feel like I'm being left behind. Oh, I'm being left behind. Oh dear." On my channel, we don't have to feel left behind. We're all on a journey. It might be bumpy, but we're on a journey. But I don't promote cheating. Some people have said, so you're basically just promoting cheating. No, I never said that. I never said I was promoting that. It's just a safe space for people to come if if their journey has been bumpy, and they just want to feel like they're not, you know, well, you weren't carnivore enough, blah blah. I don't. That's not happening on my channel. I have
Nice.
people, saying to me, I had something last week, but I love your channel because I know you're not going to make me feel bad about it. So no, you don't have to feel bad about it. Do you have health benefits? Yes. Do you feel good today? Yes. Everything's good in your world then. You know, that's what my channel's about.
Awesome. And so we can find you at Imperfect Carnivore UK.
Yeah, yeah.
Sarah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.